It has been 30 days since I started my Tinyman DeFi experiment, and this was specifically to see how liquid staking would actually pay off. Now, there's some issues here because we don't have complete information, and part of that's kind of the platform's fault, or at least maybe there's not an easy way to do it. But this is one issue that you will see. But this is part of our experiment series. We're trying to get back to doing more experiments as well, because I like to show you guys how this stuff actually works and how well it functions, what you can actually expect from doing some of these DeFi protocols and other stuff. One of the things when I got into crypto, I got really frustrated because I would see a video on something and I'd be like, oh, that looks great, it looks really easy. And then when I would try it myself, my results would be totally different, and it would be there'd be a whole bunch of things that the video didn't tell me about, and I find that really frustrating. So I want you guys to not have to go through that. So I tried the experiment and I just see how things go. And so this one is liquid staking on Tinyman and how much you can actually expect to earn from liquid staking. But there's a caveat, there's some problems with it that are kind of related to the platform that we'll get into as we go through this. By the way, guys, if you like these experiments, please hit that like and subscribe button. As I always say, you don't have to smash it. You can actually just press it gently and it works just fine that way too. We are also brought to you by non-fungible domains. So if you want that .algo address like I do, and you'll see my .algo address as we go through the Tinyman screen, you can go head on right over to non-fungible domains. They have vaults and segments as well. Lots of cool features, and it's pretty affordable, so check that out in the description below. And we are brought to you by Marcus Aurelius, who also is actually part of one of our experiments, because we have a ready pool experiment. I might touch on that a little bit, and I'll also touch on my alpha arcade experiment a little bit too. Marcus Aurelius, they're bringing the Stoic wisdom to the blockchain, and I think it's a really cool project. So I think you guys should check that out. I just like what they're building on there. Founder's a really cool guy, and I think they're trying to do the right thing on Algorand. So definitely check out the description and support both of our sponsors. But let's get to today's experiment. So I want to start with the results. So I started this actually back in February, but then what I did is I went back. So the first one, I didn't really do a full month. So I just kind of went through one full cycle. And the thing with the cycles is, so you're always getting paid the next day. So that's why I had to kind of wait till today to get the full picture. And whenever you do a new cycle, there's always a period that you miss because it takes 24 hours to kind of kick in on Tinyman. And I'm going to go back through and show you what I am doing. Well, actually, yeah, I should probably go do that. So what I'm talking about is the farming programs. That starts off with staking. So it used to be that you could earn rewards from staking, or holding LPs, that's liquidity pools, and you could actually earn pretty good money doing that. So you didn't have to do any of this stuff. But ever since Algorand switched from incentivizing governance to incentivizing the staking program instead, because they want people running nodes. Now the rewards are set up on Tinyman, they're set up for liquid staking, and a lot of platforms are like this now. So what you do is you stake your algo balance. You stake algo, you get T algo in return. You can actually double stake that, but I didn't do that because I wanted to take advantage of the T algo, which I thought was kind of the point. So I don't know why I'm not doing that part of it, but it's 7 point. If you just did that, then that's like about 11% thereabouts, just a little bit less than 11%, I think. Well, actually a little less than 12%. I take that back. So that's not bad. That's a good option if you just want to kind of set it and forget it. Now the problem here, and that you'll see more when I calculate, is that there's no way to, they tell you this percentage and I could add it and just kind of guesstimate, but I have no idea to know if I'm actually getting this or not. I assume I am, but there's no way to track it, like how much you got in staking rewards. So I don't like that part. That's one of the disadvantages of liquid staking, is that it's really hard to track whether you're actually getting it. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, but I don't think you actually recover the staking rewards until you swap back to Algorand, aren't most people going to do this in perpetuity? So would you have to just unstake and restake? It's kind of annoying. I'm not the biggest fan of this. The only reason I'm doing liquid staking is so that I can go and do these. So if you go to the farming programs, you can see they're all based on T algo now. So the only way you can farm is through T algo. And the one we are in is the T algo USDC. Now I like USDC pairs because when we ran our DeFi experiment, pairs that had US dollar coin in them were far more stable than anything else, which you might imagine. But It's when you actually try it out, you can see that that's the case. Like even when Algorand was losing value, the pool amount didn't go down a whole ton. Now you're probably not going to gain as much either. So that's something to keep in mind. This was for the latest period, and I wasn't really good at keeping track, but this is where your pending rewards will be. This will disappear after I claim this because cycle 8 is over. And basically these are the total amounts. So you can see my amount went from the total I had invested was a little over 10,000. Now it's closer to 9,000. 91. Oh, I put that in the wrong. So 91.64, and my total rewards were just under $100. So in a month I made about $100. Now that might sound pretty good, but I will tell you, under the old reward structure, when Algorand hit like over 40 cents, this would have been more like 450. So it's a lot less, and that's not including the fee average, which has actually also been very low, because one of the advantages of USDC algo is it's probably one of the most traded pairs. So if you provide liquidity for USDC algo, you're going to make a lot in fees, and you can kind of track. It was kind of funny. I could tell when the price went up because that meant more volume, and more volume meant more fees. And so I was getting, this is what it was, and I think it was probably more like around $1. And I was kind of bad with tracking it daily, so that's why some of these amounts are very different. But you can see this is a 1-day amount and $1.61. It said average about $1.71, and I don't know how correct that is. So we made about $93 in fees. Now, these are easy to track because you're getting paid out in Tiny. You can swap Tiny, which, by the way, the latest one you saw is worth about $30. The one that you saw that I hadn't claimed yet. And that's only because this has gone up a little bit. It's now closer to 2.5 cents again. This was down all the way down to almost 2 cents. So that's one disadvantage too, because you used to earn rewards kind of in Tiny and Algorand, and now you're earning them exclusively in Tiny, which had been pretty good. It had been trading between 5 and 2.5 cents, and it really stayed in this range. So I've been actually holding on to a lot of Tiny because I don't want to swap until it's at least over 3 cents. And that's kind of an issue. It's been up, but it's up like 10% in the last 24 hours. So that's something else. So basically that calculates to 13%. I just realized you couldn't see the other numbers, but in fact, let me move that. There you go. So you can at least see these two. Yeah. So just under $100 was the total for 1 month of rewards. And then the fees were $93. So the rewards, you actually get a tangible coin. The fees kind of just get cycled back into the LPs after you have some sort of transaction with the pool, which you're not going to do unless you put stuff back in. So if I take this amount and I put it back into the LP, that's not a bad idea. And that's what I would do. But I was hoping for liquidity that I could use in my daily life since I quit my job and I'm surviving on entrepreneurship. That's going pretty well, so I don't necessarily need this anyway. So the total rewards will end up being about 13%, which, isn't bad. Now that's just rewards, so that's not fees. Okay, with fees added in, that's about 25% total. So that's pretty good. 25% is nothing to shake a stick at. But the problem you have to keep in mind is that you're holding Algorand and USDC, and those are assets that can decrease, could also increase, and you just never quite know. So a lot of times, the reason I did my DeFi experiment before is because I found that it was really easy to lose so much in value that it more than made up for what you gained in rewards. I found that out pretty much across the board. The one that probably stayed the most steady was Algo USDC, and that's why if there's an option to have at least a stable coin somewhere in that pair, I'm usually going to go for it. So, and I was actually keeping track of the raw Tiny as well, which would have helped me go back and calculate. Now there's a caveat with these numbers, by the way. These are based on the current price of Tiny, but I did a lot of swapping at higher rates. So it actually probably is a little bit higher than this $100. I'd probably say more like 120 maybe, because a lot of these I didn't save. I actually swapped right away to USDC to lock in the higher rates when it was like 3 or 4. I think it was even up to 5 cents. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, some of these it would have been over 4 cents at least, and then an earlier part even higher. But so again, basically it's not bad, but this is not nearly as good as what I was getting from USDC algo, and there's less complexity. Now, the one other thing that this doesn't factor in is the APY from Tiny. And by the way, this is really APY. So I didn't make 13% in this month. This is like the yearly percentage projected out for like an entire year. So that's truly an APY, it's not like I made 13% this month, because that would be a different calculation. That would be a whole lot more. In fact, that would be like, if I made like if it was more like closer to 1,000, that would be closer to 13%. And same with the 25%. So these are all projected out as if it was a full year, which is what you're seeing on the Tinyman staking. That's what you're seeing here. So you'd have to take, if you add that would be probably closer to the total reward if you added this 8% from the liquid staking. And then, the other thing I'm not really factoring in is the price of Algorand, because that's also based on this, and that's not based on, if you think about it, when I started, it was over 10,000. It was 10,100. So I lost much more value than I gained from rewards. But I didn't lose any coins. The coins stayed the same. I just lost dollar amount. So if I were to take this out and cash in, at this point, I would actually be down about $800. Well, yeah, about 800, a little less than that. So, that's not super fun. So the reason I go over this is there's a lot of factors. And the reason I do these experiments is to show you guys that, like, you have to be careful how you think about these things. Now, the reason I'm less concerned about this is in the old days, there might be a pair and you might buy into that token just to take advantage of that pair and get like a super high APY. But then you end up losing so much from token depreciation that it kind of doesn't matter. But then the problem is when the cycle's over, that pair might not be there. You might not even have an option with that coin. And then you have to take that coin and swap it to something else. So you are locking in the losses. Here, I don't have to lock in the losses. I can leave this alone. In 30 days, maybe it'll be up to 12,000. I don't know. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the other one I put on here, and this is just a beginning, is that I'm doing an experiment with Alpha Arcade, because you can actually get payouts just for holding the coin. And the reason I like that, and channel members saw this a lot earlier, and they're going to get a little more, hold on a second. The reason I like this is look how steady this is. This is crazy. I don't know that I've ever seen an ASA almost pegged to like it's seemed to be pegged to like 0.4 of a cent. It's not moving. So I think that's really, really interesting. We're going to track that. I probably should have tracked the price, so maybe I'll add that on there from the 29th. And I'm just going to keep track of payouts and then how much I'm holding. Actually, that's what I'm going to keep track of. So every few days you supposedly get it, and you get paid out in US dollar coin, which is really interesting. So no tax problems there and some other benefits for that. I think that's really neat. And so I just want to see how that goes, because this might be a viable strategy. From what I can tell though, it looks like about 5%, but we'll see when we add all these up. Because it's not 1 cent. It was actually like just a little over half a cent. And for some reason, there's probably a way to do it, but Excel wants to just round up. It doesn't like, probably because it's a dollar amount. So maybe I should not make it in a dollar so it stays that way. But anyway, that's our experiment. And there's a new cycle. Oh, I know what I want to do. In fact, let me show that new cycle. I almost forgot. And then we'll be done. Yeah, so here's USDC, here's T-Algo USDC, and you can see there's 37.29% APR, which is better than what it was showing for this last one. I heard that the cycle is supposed to improve, so that appears to be the case. But you can see like there's still rewards for USDC algo, but it's like 5%. So you're not going to get very much. I don't know about the fees though. You might actually earn more on the fees. So there's some considerations there. And when you have the pair already, you'll see the little orange dot. So what I want to do is I want to farm this. I'm not going to do it right now, but I just hit farm to earn rewards, and then there'll be, yeah, you can see the pool APY is about 7%. This changes though, so don't get too married to this figure. That's why we do the experiment, because it changes. It depends on what percentage you have of the total. That's what you get for rewards. So you get incentivized, which is cool. I guess the thing that bothers me about the whole thing is, like in the old cycle, under the old reward system, I was getting enough to basically pay my mortgage, which I have a very low mortgage, but it was enough to basically pay my mortgage. Like this is maybe like my cable. Well, I don't have cable, but I've never had cable except for DirecTV for like 1.5 years or something like that. But my internet bill could pay and a little bit more than that, I guess, which is that's not nothing, but not quite the same as what I was expecting. So anyway, that's our little experiment. I hope you got something out of that. And let me know what you're doing for liquid staking. I'm curious about what your experience has been so far. Do you like the liquid staking options? Do you miss the old reward system? I want to know all that. So let me know in the in the chat below. Otherwise, I'm FrugalBC. Please give a shout out to our sponsors. Otherwise, I will see you in the future.